Finally, let's talk about segmentation strategy that you will have to deploy in your quarter development and decision development. Segmentation strategy is, of course, a very important part of your overall strategy. Take any PC segment. How excited will it become if you provide a product for it? And how excited will it become if you provide one of these characteristics? More memory, more functions on the keyboard, more software, more of whatever. Just like in candy bar ingredients, you must discover the response function for each of the components. You get some hints on that for your market research of end customers, but you will most likely get even more and more important results in your test market quarters, and these need to be prepared now. So, for example, we look at the travel PC segment, the laptop segment. What kind of benefits will certain characteristics yield? So let's start out with what customers want, which is portability, usability on the road, connectivity to the office, and easy to use, comfort, convenience. And when we look at these benefits that customers seek, we then overlay them with the characteristics that we can design. Does a rugged casement increase portability? Does a high resolution LED display, for example, increase portability? Does wireless modem increase connectivity to the office? Of course, don't get hung up on some of the characteristics in the simulation and where we are currently in our development of micro PCs. Look at the concept of the discussion, look at the concept of the characteristics. Once you have an idea on how your characteristics that you can design into the product relate to what customers actually get as benefits for their use, you're on the right track. And of course, the marketing strategy relies very heavily on your segmentation strategy. So the question is, do you give every customer what the customer wants? Or do you look at certain customer segments where you feel that your design of the brand and the product can affect positively most of the participants in that segment? And then, of course, your question is, how will a segmentation strategy or your overall marketing strategic thrust affect factory productivity? Are you producing too many different brands and therefore the cost per unit increases? Or are you creating mass produced brands of one kind of that maybe not many in your segment want? So it's always a fine line between having too many versions to having too few versions, and the optimum that you have to find in regard to your productivity and the cost of production versus the segments and the satisfaction of the segments is one of the challenges in your simulation. So every component, of course, which is different, will increase the time to change over in the production facility when it comes to producing one brand or the next. And as you will find out in your production and operations manual for the simulation, that changeover has, of course, a cost implication. So, in summary, make sure that as you pick your components, you're aware of how it will affect your factory productivity. And you will have information on that in the simulation. For example, if you have different cases, the time to change over for the components necessary for different cases is 5 hours. That might not appear to be too much, but it actually is, and over the different characteristics that you have for your different products, it really sums up and has an impact on your overall production cost. In summary, what will be the learning points for quarter number 2? Number 1, show us your capability to analyze the market opportunities that exist for the firms. Develop strategic and tactical planning skills. Show us your ability to segment and target certain markets with appropriate products. And make sure that you show us your financial management skills by having a keen eye on the bottom line. You will, of course, be exposed to game theory, which is the competitive positioning you against the competing teams in the market. And you have to figure out whether you want to compete head on, whether you want to avoid competition for the beginning, whether you feel strongly about your strategy that will succeed against competition, etc., etc. Make sure that you are understanding how brand design links product futures to customer benefits and trying to find the customer response function for your product features and the sought benefits by customers, as well as try to figure out the manufacturing to marketing trade-off of satisfying customers versus running the most efficient factory. The issue of changeover is really important. Don't underestimate its effect on your overall profitability. Last but not least, make sure you really understand what you do in regard to the distribution strategy. Whether you want to go with brick and mortar or e-commerce web outlets and have maybe a combined strategy, but the fact is, have a strategy. Make sure you have absolutely eagle eyes on your financial liquidity, making sure that your financial assets are well taken care of, as well as make sure that your logistics for your plant location have not only good production economies, but also logistical shipping economies for the markets that you want to go to. Getting back to the mental discipline of our simulation, you are creating a strategy in this quarter based on some initial market analysis, but it's very clear that as you go along, you will adjust your different strategic and tactical decisions that you're making for quarter 2. Very importantly, make sure that you have a good understanding in your team what your overall strategy for the entire simulation should be or you want it to be.